ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වරට SLT 4G වෙතින් දැන් PO TV නරඹන්න. ඉදිරියටම ගෙන යන SLT 4G.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට ඒක
Tonight, recovery rate boost. 9 more COVID-19 patients make full recoveries. The forgotten. Colombo's homeless relocated amid hardships owing to curfew. In the pipelines, the IMF is reviewing a request from Sri Lanka regarding a rapid credit facility.
We will discuss this week.
More questions. The city of Wuhan revises its COVID-19 death toll, adding over 1,000 to the tally. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Friday the 17th of April 2020.
SMS කර රුපියල් මිලියන 3ක මුල් දැන්ගේ උපකරණ දිනාගෙන අවුරුද්දෙම කුස්සිය ටයිම් සේව් කරගන්න.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammike Kanayaka. Now, Sri Lanka's COVID-19 recovery rate saw a boost today with 9 more people walking out of hospitals after making complete recoveries. The recovery rate of almost 32% is 3 times that of the world's largest economy, the United States. Meanwhile, more questions are raised about the virus as health authorities speculate that the COVID-19 patient from Keselwatta may have contracted the virus while on the flight to the island from India on the 12th of last month. She had also completed the 14-day mandatory quarantine period on the 2nd of this month before developing symptoms on Wednesday.
With suspicion growing that the COVID-19 patient from Keselwatta, who is also an arrival from India, might have contracted the virus from a foreigner, questions are raised on the time it takes for the virus to show symptoms. Her symptoms came about 2 weeks after she completed the mandatory 14-day quarantine period. According to health authorities, the passenger who sat next to her in the flight she took to Sri Lanka has exhibited symptoms similar to that of COVID-19. The woman in question has also made the cabin crew aware of the constant coughing by her fellow passenger, following which she was made to switch the seat. Meanwhile, security was seen beefed up in the area of Nagalagam Vidya, isolated following the detection of COVID-19 patients. Measures, however, were taken by the security forces to allow relatives to distribute essential items to the area residents. In the meantime, Imamul Aruz Mawata in Maradana, which was shut due to a resident succumbing to COVID-19, was subjected to disinfection today. The move came due to a group of 200 residents returning to the area from the quarantine facility in Punani. In another development, with the identification of 4 fresh cases of COVID-19, the total number of reported cases in Sri Lanka rose to 242 today, with 165 of them being active cases. With 9 people also being discharged today, the country's total recoveries also increased to 77, marking Sri Lanka's highest recovery rate so far at 31.8%. Sri Lanka now has a recovery percentage 3 times greater than the world's largest economy, the United States. The number of recoveries in the United Kingdom, however, remained unavailable for the 5th consecutive day.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Police have arrested over 30,000 people since the curfew first came into effect, with the aim of halting the spread of COVID-19. Almost all of the arrests relate to curfew violations, with close to 8,000 vehicles also ending up in police custody. With police continuing to breach curfew laws, police warn that those in privileged positions of being given curfew passes will lose them if they are misused.
The island-wide curfew has been in effect for weeks, and some people still continue to ignore directives of the authorities by venturing outdoors. As a result, 343 people were arrested by police from the time period between 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. today, with 122 vehicles also being seized. What's more, 30,631 people have been arrested for curfew violations since the measure was first brought into effect on the 20th of March. A total of 7,892 vehicles have also been seized. As the country battles to contain the COVID-19 pandemic, circulation of misinformation has also become an issue, leading to various misconceptions among members of the public. The government has since decided to crack down on those responsible for misinformation pertaining to the coronavirus pandemic. A 50-year-old woman was arrested from the area of Nalla in Diuldeniya yesterday over spreading false information on COVID-19 with the use of social media. In the meantime, Avisaville Magistrates Court ordered that 9 persons who were found gambling together last Wednesday to be self-quarantined for 21 days. With that being the case, police media spokesperson SP Jaliya Senaratne also urged that strict measures will be taken for the people violating the curfew.
යම් යම් අවස්ථාවලදී ඇදහිනීති බලපත්‍ර අවභාවිතා කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් තොරතුරු වාර්තා වෙලා තියෙනවා. වගේන් ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ ඇදහිනීති බලපත්‍රය ඔබට ලබා දුන් ගමන් මාර්ගයේ පමණක් භාවිත කරන්න. ඒ ගමන් මාර්ගයෙන් බාහිරව ගමන් කිරීමෙන් වළකින්න. එවැනි අවස්ථා වගේම ඇදහිනීති බලපත්‍රය අවභාවිත කරමින් බලපත්‍ර නැති තැනැත්තන් ප්‍රවාහන කිරීම කටයුතු කිරීමෙන් වළකින්න කියලා. යම් අවස්ථාවකදී ඔබ එසේ කරනවා වාර්තා වුණොත් එහෙම නැත්නම් පොලිස් නිලධාරීන්ට හමු වුණොත් ඔබට විරුද්ධව නීති මගින් කටයුතු කරනවට අමතරව ඇදහිනීති බලපත්‍රය අවලංගු කිරීමටත් කටයුතු කරනවා.
Elsewhere, the police special task force arrested a suspect in the area of Kadavala in Katana over the sale of illicit liquor with the use of a van. The STF had acted on a tip-off to apprehend the suspect. As the curfew keeps extending, morale of the people play a key role in their mental health. Comprehending this factor, several musical performances were organized by members of the Triforces, police and artists to boost the spirits of the people, especially those living in apartment complexes. Several such events were worked off in Colombo and Gampaha. Similar performances were organized in front of the Colombo National Hospital as well as the Infectious Diseases Hospital by respective hospital staff to improve the morale of patients. In the meantime, various programs to distribute face masks to those on road without masks were also worked off at certain locations. In the districts of Colombo, Kalutara, Gampaha, Kandy, Putlam and Jaffna, which are designated as COVID-19 high-risk zones, the curfew will be in effect until further notice. As for the rest of the country, the curfew will be lifted at 6 a.m. on the 20th of April. However, the government says that further measures will be announced on a later date.
නිෂ්පාදිත දිනය කවදත් අලුත් වටවල තේ අරගන්න.
වටවල තේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ තේ එක.
Many government-implemented services are coming to fruition around the country, providing financial aid and relief to people, easing their burdens during these difficult times. In that backdrop, the Grama Niladaris Association today decided to call off the boycott that they publicly announced. They threatened to withdraw from relief aid provision process, citing discrepancies. Before the move was called off, Samurdhi officers, however, were adamant that they will not withdraw from their duties. In the meantime, another medical consignment sent by China was handed over to the Prime Minister today.
The Gramanilladari Association decided that they will not be part of the disbursement process of the 5,000 rupee government allowance to daily wage earners who lost their livelihood due to impact of COVID-19 pandemic. The economic development officers and the agricultural research and production assistants held a media briefing expressing their support towards the decision taken by the Gramanilladari Association.
ඒ ලේඛනවල ගොඩක් අඩුපාඩුකම් තියෙනවා. ගොඩක් ගැටලු තියෙනවා. ඒ ගැටලු වලට අපි කමිටුවක් විදියට සාකච්ඡා කරලා තීන්දුවක් ගන්නවා වෙනුවට එක නිලධාරියෙක් විතරක් මේකට යොදවල කටයුතු කරන විදියට දේශපාලන අධිකාරියෙන් කරලා තියෙනවා. එහෙම අපි නොදන්නා අපේ අධීක්ෂණයට යටත් නොවන ඒ වගේ අපෙන් අත්සන විතරක් යොදා ගන්න ඒ ලේඛනවලට අපේ කිසිම සහයෝගයක් හෝ අනුමැතියක් ලබා නොදෙන බවට මේ වෙනකොට ග්‍රාම නිලධාරීන් ඒකෙන් අයින් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ආර්ථික සංවර්ධන නිලධාරීන් මේකෙන් අයින් වෙලා තියෙනවා. කුෂිකර්ම පරීක්ෂණ නිෂ්පාදන සහකාර නිලධාරීන් වශයෙන් අපිත් මේකෙන් බැහැර වෙනවා. මොකද මේකේ කිසිම පදනමක් නැති නිසා.
The Gramanilladari Association meanwhile charges that the situation was given rise to by actions of officials higher up.
මෙම රුපියල් 5000 දින දීමනාව සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපේ කොළඹ ඉන්න සීතල කාමරවල නිලධාරීන් ගන්නා තීරණ පහළ පොළොවට වළංගු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ගමේ ඉන්න අපිට ලක්ෂයකට ආසන්න ඉන්න රාජ්‍ය සේවා නිලධාරීන් අපි තම මිනිස්සුන්ට මොන දෙන අමාත්‍යාංශ ලේකම්වරයා මෙනියට මොන දෙන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. අපි මේ රාජකාරී කරලා එතන යම් අඩුපාඩුවක් තියෙනවා ඒක සංශෝධනය කිරීමට අපි සියලු දෙනාම එකගයි. කිසිදු ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. ඒ වගේම අපි කියන්නේ මේ ක්‍රමවේදයේ ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවා. දේශපාලන අධිකාරිය ගැන අපිට කිසි ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. රාජ්‍ය පරිපාලන සෝදකරු අමාත්‍යාංශ ලේකම්වරයාගේ අක්‍රියාත්මකභාවය අකාර්යක්ෂමතාවය කිසිදු දෙයකට මුහුණ නොදී හැංගීම නිලධාරීන්ගේ පෙනීම නිසා මේ සිද්ධිය මතුවලා තියෙන්නේ.
All Ceylon Samurdhi Development, Agricultural Research and Production Assistants Union meanwhile insists that Samurdhi officers will not forsake their duties to the people at this moment.
එනිසා මේ වෙලාවේ දේශපාලනය කියලා යම් විදිහකට හේතු පාදක කරගෙන මේකෙන් ඉවත් වීම යුක්ති සහගත නැහැ. මොකද මේ කමිටු වල සියලු රාජ්‍ය නිලධාරීන් ඉන්නවා. එක්කෙනෙක් නෙමෙයි කමිටුවම තීන්දුව ගන්න. ඒ තීන්දුවේදී අනික වැඩි දෙනෙකුට සහන ලැබෙනවා. වැඩි දෙනෙකුට ආධාර ලැබෙනවා. හැබැයි මොන තත්ත්වයේ යටතේවත් සමෘද්ධි නිලධාරීන්ට සමෘද්ධි ව්‍යාපාරයට පැවරිච්ච වගකීම අපි කිසි විටක මග හරින්නේ නැහැ. සමෘද්ධි නිලධාරීන් කුෂිකර්ම පරීක්ෂණ නිලධාරීන් අපේ සමිතියට සම්බන්ධ සියලු දෙනා රට පුරාම අද මේ වගකීම කරට අරගෙන කටයුතු කරනවා. ඒ නිසා කිසි හේතුවක් නිසා ජනතාවට ලැබෙන්න තියෙන ඒ අයිතිවාසිකම් සහ රුපියල් 5000 දීමනාව ලබා දෙන්න බාධාවක් කරගන්න අපි යම් සංවිධාන ගන්න වෘත්තීය ක්‍රියාමාර්ග හේතු කරගන්නේ නැහැ. පැහැදිලි සමෘද්ධි ව්‍යාපාරයේ අනුමුදල් ගාම නිලධාරීන්ට හෝ වෙන කෙනෙකුට බෙදන්න දෙන්න බෑ. මේ මුදල් බෙදන්න දෙන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ සමෘද්ධි නිලධාරීන්ට විතරයි. ඒක නීති අනුකූල අයිතියක්.
හැබැයි රජයක් හැටියට ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. රටේ පවුල් ලක්ෂ 57යි ඉන්නේ. ලක්ෂ 72කට ආධාර ඉල්ලලා තියෙනවා. හැබැයි මේකේ කොහේ හරි පොඩි අඩුපාඩුවක් තියෙනවා. මම හිතන්නේ මේ ඉල්ලුම් පත්‍ර පෙරවීමේදී අපිට නිවැරදි කර ගැනීමක් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ නිසා අපි මේකට කලබල වෙන්න අවශ්‍යතාවයක් නැහැ. රාජ්‍ය නිලධාරීන් සියලු දෙනාම එක්කවලා සුදුසු පුද්ගලයන්ට මේක ලබා දෙන්න ඕනේ. සමහර ප්‍රදේශවල අපේ ප්‍රදේශවලත් තියෙනවා එක නිවසේ ආධාර 5-6 දෙනාට ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා. මේක නිවැරදි වෙන්න ඕනේ. නිසා ආණ්ඩුවක් හැටියට උනත් රටේ ලියාපදිංචි පවුල් සංඛ්‍යාව ලක්ෂ 57 නම් ලක්ෂ 72කට රාජ්‍ය සේවක වැටුප් විශ්‍රාම වැටුප් සහ ආධාර ලබා දෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මේක නිවැරදි කර ගැනීම සඳහා තමයි මේ සමීක්ෂණය කරන්නේ. මේ ගැන වැරදි විදිහට අර්ථකථනය කරන්නේ නැතුව සියලුම රාජ්‍ය නිලධාරීන් මේ වෙලාවේ එකට එක්ක වෙලා මේ සහන ආධාර ලබා දීමට කටයුතු කරන්නේ කියන එකයි අපි ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ.
Despite there being alleged issues in the relief distribution process, Samurdhi officers, however, distributed the allowance to the people. Meanwhile, a Samurdhi officer was reportedly assaulted by a group of people at Pussella in Matale when he went about his duty. He is currently receiving treatment at the divisional hospital in Rattota. In a separate development, the activities of the Central Mail Exchange, which was suspended for a month, recommenced today. Elsewhere, Minister Mahinda Amaravira instructed officials of the Department of Motor Traffic to extend the validity of expired driving licenses until the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. Another consignment of the medical aid donated by the Chinese government was handed over to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa today. The consignments sent by the Chinese government include 20,016 PCR test kits and another stock of medical equipment valued at $600,000. In the meantime, the Civil Defence Force continued to purchase vegetables from the farmers in the areas of Valimada and Uva Paranagama. The officials procured 55,000 kilograms of vegetables during the process.
Moving on with other stories, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce has submitted a proposal to the government on how to manage passenger transport safely as government considers exit strategies from the current curfew status. The proposal examines establishing a plan in case of future lockdowns, along with the necessity of people's movement for a swift and safe restoration of normalcy.
With the announcement of recommencing schools and universities, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce says that it is prudent that a sound public transportation plan is prepared and announced to enable the country to function in the realities of a post-COVID-19 environment. It adds that this would require reducing the total number of entrants, especially during the peak hours, into cities like Colombo in the first few weeks, with gradual plans to ramp it up based on the progression achieved while minimizing the rate of infection. The Ceylon Chamber of Commerce recommend that guidelines for all forms of transport operations be issued prior to commencing transportation, with specific attention on overcrowding and the practice of health guidelines with the coordination of the relevant health officials. It also calls for the introduction of a mechanism to ensure there is demand reductions in the peak period. This, it says, can set the guidelines on the number of people working in an establishment, the opening and closing time of office hours, including public services, and the introduction of flexible hours or work from home. The proposal also encourages the operation of buses and trains at marginal cost recovery. Given that less passengers per bus or train will result in less revenue for public transport operators, at least initially, it proposes a special mechanism to enable minimal reimbursement, considering the prevailing low global oil prices. The Ceylon Chamber of Commerce goes on to say that this is an opportune moment to transform the public sector transportation system and use digital public transport operation platforms to facilitate its transformation to a modern and world-class service seen in many countries and cities the world over. The Chamber notes that the next step is to devise exit strategies.
We will see you shortly after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, Sri Lankan companies have succeeded in meeting the country's complete domestic ethanol requirements. The Ministry of Finance made a decision to suspend the importation of ethanol from the 1st of January with the objective of stopping illegal importation of ethanol and saving the country's money allocated for the imports, which amounted to 2 billion rupees in 2019.
Ethanol, a byproduct of crude oil, is also produced with the use of sugarcane and corn. It is used mainly for alcohol production but also for disinfectants, paint, cosmetics and perfumes. So far, approximately 55% of the country's annual ethanol requirement of 36 million litres was imported, and Sri Lanka spent 20 billion rupees on ethanol imports during year 2019. However, with the intention of putting an end to the illegal importation of ethanol and to save money paid for the imports while obtaining the required capacity locally, the government decided to suspend the importation of ethanol from the 1st of January.
අපේ පැල්වත්ත සහ සෙවණගල සීනි කර්මාන්ත ආයතනයේ තිබිච්චි එතනෝල් රුපියල් 290ට විකුණන්න බැරුණා. උක් කැපෙනකොට මේ එතනෝල් දාන්න තැනක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. ඒක නිසා අපි රටින් ගේන එක නවත්තලා අපේ නිෂ්පාදනයේ 290ට විකුණන්න බැරි වෙච්ච එක ලීටරයක් රුපියල් ලක්ෂ 2කට වඩා ගන්නවා නම් 500කටත් ලක්ෂ 2කට අඩුවෙන් ගන්නවා නම් 550කට ලීටරයක් දෙන්න අපි කටයුතු කරා.
As a result, Sri Lanka has been able to manufacture the country's full requirement of ethanol within 3 months. Ethanol has been legally imported into the country in a backdrop where the country's full requirements could be locally sourced. Making decisions based on a national policy and managing resources effectively will save the country a great sum in foreign exchange.
The homeless people in Colombo were given a reprieve from the hardships that they faced today, as most of them were relocated to holding centres. They were also given food and clothing in a backdrop where mendicancy is impossible owing to the curfew in effect.
With the onset of the island-wide curfew, mendicants were left stranded in every possible way. Without proper lodgings and food, they faced severe hardships. With that in mind, police recently provided food to those seeking shelter at the bus stand in Gunasinghapura. Upon hearing the news, most mendicants within the Colombo city limits made their way to the location. Given the severity of the prevailing situation, police today took measures to relocate them to a holding centre outside Colombo. Accordingly, the mendicants were first disinfected by the police and steps were taken to provide them with meals. Police also provided them fresh water to clean themselves with the aid of the police water cannons. Later on, they were given new clothes and essential items. After that, all of them were registered and sent to holding centres. Furthermore, Western Province Governor Marshal of the Air Force Roshan Gunatilaka stated that the group of homeless will be sent for programs which are geared to make them productive.
As you all know, there is a certain segment of people who have been roaming the streets of Colombo and they had nowhere to go because of the situation that is prevailing in this country, because of the curfew that was imposed because of this COVID-19 situation. However, we have taken into consideration their plight and we have made facilities for them to clean themselves up, and we have provided them with fresh clothing also. And most of these people will be sent in batches to certain places on programs that would be beneficial for the country and as well as for themselves also. Only the most elderly people who find it difficult to walk and things like that will be segregated in a certain place or places, and they will be provided assistance in food and all other things until this situation improves. But the other people, I hope, will take this opportunity and become productive to themselves and to this country as well.
Now, the Consulate General of Sri Lanka in Melbourne says that the mission, along with the Sri Lankan community organisations as well as well-wishers in Melbourne, is providing necessary assistance to the Sri Lankans affected in Melbourne by the current situation due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Nearly 10,000 Sri Lankan students are enrolled at higher education institutes in Melbourne.
The Consulate General of Sri Lanka in Melbourne says that it has introduced a 24-hour hotline and joined hands with the Sri Lankan associations, community leaders and well-wishers to assist the students and other Sri Lankans who are faced with difficulties in Melbourne and the rest of Victoria, as well as the Australian states of South Australia and Tasmania. It adds that Sri Lankan students who are short of income due to the closure of workplaces are provided with essential living assistance, mainly by way of dry rations and also cooked food. The Consulate General has also taken action to provide updated information through its website and social media pages, as well as through community media stations relating to issues that are faced by the students and Sri Lankans stranded in Australia. The statement said that among a new range of measures introduced by the Australian government are new visa regulations, including the introduction of no further stay condition waiver that is particularly important for short-term visa holders whose visas will expire shortly. The Australian government has also announced new regulations to avoid eviction of tenants from rented accommodation for a period of 6 months, which help particularly students with difficulties in payment of rents. The Consulate General stated that international students working in aged care and as nurses as well as in the major supermarkets have had the working hours extended, while the number of hours student visa holders are allowed to work has been increased to 40 hours, while allowing access to Australian superannuation, a fund similar to a pension fund for those who have been employed in Australia longer than 12 months.
AdaDerana continued to provide relief for the people in dire need of essential services for the 23rd day. Essential items were given to various religious establishments to be distributed among the general public. Meanwhile, the State Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Corporation donated drugs to AdaDerana for distribution among the people affected by the curfew. Dialogue Relief Services also partnered with AdaDerana in this endeavour. In addition, AdaDerana launched a project to provide medical equipment to hospitals treating COVID-19 patients, which was also joined by LOLC Holdings. Accordingly, AdaDerana donated medical equipment to the Karapite Teaching Hospital in Galle yesterday. We will see you shortly after this break. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the International Monetary Fund says it is reviewing a request from the Sri Lankan government regarding a rapid credit facility and is discussing whether Sri Lanka wants to switch to the new RCF program. While responding to a question during the Asia and Pacific Department media briefing of the IMF, its director, Chang Yong-ri, said that the body received a letter from the Sri Lankan government about its rapid credit facility.
Has Sri Lanka made any request for debt relief or any special corona funds? Also, what is the status of the current program review?
Yeah, we received a letter from Sri Lankan government about our rapid credit facility, the program, RCF RFF program. So we are now start to review it, and we are now discussing with the government whether they want to switch their previous program into our new rapid facilities. So we will discuss this week.
The Rapid Credit Facility provides rapid concessional financial assistance with limited conditionality to low-income countries facing an urgent balance of payments need. The RCF places emphasis on the country's poverty reduction and growth objectives. Financing under the Rapid Credit Facility carries a zero interest rate, has a grace period of 5.5 years and a final maturity of 10 years.
Now, manufacturing activities has significantly contracted due to adverse impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, with the Purchasing Managers Index hitting an all-time low index value of 30 in March 2020, with a decline of 23.6 index points from February 2020.
The data released by the Statistics Department of the Central Bank says the decline of Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index was mainly driven by the significant contraction of production and new orders sub-indices of PMI, reflecting the significance of the COVID-19 pandemic to Sri Lankan manufacturing sector. The significant decline in production was due to the closure of manufacturing companies due to curfew since mid-March 2020. Moreover, the orders received at the beginning of March from USA and Europe markets, particularly textile and wearing apparel orders, were subsequently cancelled with the spread of the virus in those countries. Meanwhile, the services sector PMI declined significantly to 32 in March 2020, recording the lowest index value in services PMI since May 2015. All sub-indices of services PMI except for backlogs of work remained significantly below the threshold level of 50, indicating the widespread impact of this pandemic on services activities. New businesses and business activities declined mainly in services related to tourism industry, such as hotels, travel agents and recreation activities. Meanwhile, employment in services sector continued to decline due to the discontinuation of contractual and casual employees amidst the freeze of new recruitments, with the decline in new businesses, business activity and expectations for activity. However, a significant increase in backlogs of work sub-index was observed across the services sector in March 2020, largely owing to carrying out essential business activities with a minimum number of employees, particularly in financial services, telecommunication, human health and transportation subsectors.
The Board of Investment says that approved companies can gradually recommence operations while strictly adhering to the guidelines set out by the Ministry of Health. The BOI notes that it will facilitate the process and urged companies to contact Ranjit D at boi.lk for the guidelines to obtain the required curfew passes. A BOI statement said that the resumption of operations at companies is in line with the government's desire, to gradually open up the economy. Now, there are more questions than answers after China revised its COVID-19 death toll by over 1,000. The new figure puts the total number of deaths in the world's second largest economy at over 4,000. In the meantime, global efforts taken to curb the spread of COVID-19 shows some positive signs as recoveries across the globe surged past 550,000.
As the world continue to ramp up efforts in the battle against COVID-19 pandemic, it becomes evident that the decisions made by world governments are reaping its rewards as recoveries across the world rose past 550,000. The number of infections also rose by 83,293, taking the overall figure to 2,190,726, while global fatalities reported stand at 147,051. The United States continues to stay atop the list of worst hit countries, recording 677,570 total infections. The world's largest economy, however, continued to record deaths past 2,000. France saw a drop in the number of fatalities it recorded yesterday, as the daily death toll was reported at 753. The number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 infections in the country surpassed 160,000 cases. The United Kingdom reported 861 deaths yesterday, while the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases stood at 98,476. Italy has seen an improvement in its situation, with daily deaths dropping below 900. The country reported 525 deaths and 3,786 COVID-19 infections yesterday. In the meantime, Spain also recorded a slight improvement as fatalities were placed at 503, with the country's overall infections at 184,948. China's central city of Wuhan, the first coronavirus hit area, has revised its official death toll upward by 50% today, raising more questions about the accuracy of its figures. Wuhan added 1,290 fatalities to the previously reported 2,579, bringing the total toll to 3,869 nationwide. These actions come into play at a time when China has claimed to have reduced and defeated the virus's grip on the country.
UEFA is working on plans that would see the Champions League final being worked off in the 2019-2020 season on the 29th of August. European football's governing body will meet on the 23rd of April for more discussions about how to complete a campaign which has been disrupted by coronavirus. It is likely one decision will be to agree that leagues could finish early, although only with UEFA's approval. But the idea is to still finish the season as a whole at the end of August, with all outstanding games played, which means the Champions League final taking place in Istanbul on the 29th of August, with the Europa League final in Gdansk 3 days earlier. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.